Perfect, perfect. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. We are so glad that you are here to come hang out with us and learn how to leverage your income as a travel nurse. We'll get into everything in a little bit, but I do just want to go over our platform and welcome you to Trusted. I am Britt. I am the community manager here at Trusted. I have been a nurse for 10 years. I've done every specialty known to man, but I traveled in the PICU and the CV PICU, and I did a COVID ICU stint before coming here. Here at Trusted, what we love to do is events like these that kind of help you get educated and learn more about your career, your life, and traveling on the road. But we also have a wealth of resources like our blogs. We also do live events. So please stay tuned for our Nurses Week events coming up in a city near you. And then we also have CEU trackers and then also licensure exams and things like that. So you guys can just really make the best of your career and the most of it with Trusted. But a little bit before we'll get started is also the platform. I know that this may be a new platform for a lot of people. So we like to just give a little tutorial on it. That general section is where people are telling us where they're calling in from today. Hello, Wisconsin. Love to hear it. And you guys can just chat in there, get to know each other. There's also a Q&A section. So if you toggle to that, you guys can just jot down any question that you have for Anthony throughout the presentation. And what's cool about it is if someone asks a question that you like, you don't have to ask it again. You can just upvote it and say that you really like it, and we'll get to those closer and quicker. And then if you guys have any trouble throughout the presentation with audio or visual, may go out or something like that, what we suggest is going back out, testing that audio and visual before you come back in, or getting on Google Chrome if you have that application. And if none of those things work, you can either DM me, I'll be here the whole entire time, or there's a little question mark help button at the top there. And there's always Bevy support people standing by to help you out throughout the presentation. So without further ado, we'll get into this. I know we're all here. Want to make that money. So we're just here to like listen, learn, connect, and get inspired to take control of your finances. So you guys are not here to see me, you are here to see Anthony. So I will turn it over to him. And
Britt, thank
you can
you. Thank you for that intro and welcome. You're always so bubbly and personality is always on point. So thank you for that. But yeah, so a little bit about me. I think we'll actually get to a slide about that. But today, what we're going to talk about, yeah. So there's me. I'm Anthony Swain. I've been a registered nurse since 2014. Have my bachelor's, and also now I've gone down the realm of becoming a nurse wealth coach. I got really inspired on my own personal finance journey, and I wanted to share financial literacy with my peers. So whether it be nurses or other healthcare professionals. And yeah, I'm just a personal finance nut. So if I'm not talking about it and sharing it on my financially fit nurse page, then I'm reading books or just doing live sessions like this. So it really excites me, and I'm looking forward to sharing that. And I hope some of the information that I'll talk about will help you. And please feel free to connect on my Instagram if you can message me. And yeah, I would love to connect. I love meeting new people and seeing how I could help you on your journey. But yeah, so a little bit about today. We're going to be talking about a few different things, but just a little bit about my background and my financial journey, just so you know where I came from. We're going to talk about debt payoff strategies, just because it is such a hot topic. We all probably graduated from a nursing school where we probably did accumulate some level of debt. So I know it's pertinent to us. Some people are fortunate maybe to not, but I'll at least talk about some debt payoff strategies. Talk about one of my favorite things is creating a money map. That's just basically where all your money is coming in from and where is it going to. And that just kind of helps guide you to making your decision making from day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. And it just gives you basically a compass to determine where you're going to go. And then talk about automating your finances, just making it really easy, simple. It's going on in the background and you don't have to stress about it. It's a lot easier to accumulate wealth and make good financial choices when kind of your decision making is already made for you. And then lastly, I will dive into investment options just a little bit. There is a lot to learn and a lot to go into, but I will at least discuss a few things, and hopefully, those can inspire you to take it in another direction. And please feel free to leave any questions that you have, and I'll try to help answer those too.
Oh, also, for those of you who do not know, we will be giving away 5 of Anthony's books and a coaching session. So if you guys stay throughout the presentation, I know some of you guys have to hop, for shifts and things like that. But just so you know, we will be giving away some gifts to our attendees. So thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yes, I almost forgot that. But yeah, I will be giving away very excited to give away, an hour coaching session with me where we could dive into really any questions that you have. I will help give you direction on where you could take your goals for this year and then and beyond that. And yeah, answer any more personal questions that you have. And then my book, I actually spent the past year writing, and it is travel nurse oriented. So I wrote it to be helpful to other travel nurses out there. Basically, from step one, the bare bottom, all the way to more advanced. So I really tried making it fun and interesting to learn from, and that's the Travel Nurse's Guide to Personal Finance. So you actually can find it on my Instagram page, but we'll also be excited to give away a few copies too. So looking forward to that. You can flip to the next page. Yeah, so just a few key points here. Obviously, anybody tuning into this is probably a travel nurse or thinking about becoming a travel nurse. So I just want to discuss how important it is to leverage these high income years. You can greatly impact your financial futures in just a short period of time. I know part of it is for the experiences as a travel nurse. You want to enjoy your new locations and experience all of that, but it's finding a balance so you can take care of your future self as well. To do that, it is helpful to have an intentional plan for your finances. So just understanding all your available options is really key to your success. We're going to talk a little bit about, like I said, debt payoff. We'll talk about a couple of the options, either the snowball or avalanche method if you're not familiar. Automating finances, I already talked about the money map. We will get into that a little bit. And then paying yourself first is one of my favorite sayings. It's from a book I read, The Automatic Millionaire. And I think it is really key, when you get in the habit of paying yourself first, making your financial goals a priority. I think it takes you a long way. And then investment options. So I know many of you may know some of the retirement accounts, but I will go over them as if you had no idea. And then if you have any further questions, you could feel free to ask. And then brokerage accounts, and then just some alternative bonus things you could look at as real estate, business, and investing in yourself. You could switch the slide. Oh, and that's just we're gonna start off with debt pay down. And Britt and I decided that we're gonna, after each kind of pillar that I talk about, we're gonna just open up some small questions. So please feel free, if you have anything after I go over this debt section, then just drop them in the comments. So I get this question all the time: should I invest or should I pay off debt? So high interest debt greater than 6 or maybe 7%, I would recommend to pay off ASAP. And the reason being, just because if you do have high interest debt and you're still trying to invest, even if your investments are gaining, the average 7, 8, 10%, then you still have that 7%, or more, depending on your high interest drag. And you're really kind of in a zero sum game. Even if your investments are gaining, let's just say $100 a month, but you're paying interest close to $100 a month, you're not really getting anywhere. So it's going to probably be it is in your best interest to pay off the high interest debt fast. And then especially consumer debt. So things like credit cards, anything really, really taking a high interest loan. Credit cards can range from 20% or greater. Right now, with federal interest rates being so high, credit cards are even higher. They're probably close to 25%. So you want to make a plan to eliminate those, or at least find out your habits of your spending, which is causing you to accumulate the credit card debt. As a travel nurse, you do have more income, but I know at times there's periods where we may go without work. So I think just managing that and making a plan for it so you don't have to accumulate a lot of high interest debt can really serve you well too. And now, when you do make a plan to pay off your debt, rather than kind of just going at it, just however you can and not really having an action plan for it, you could choose a strategy. There's two main ones that are typically talked about in the finance community, and it's the avalanche versus the snowball method. And if you're not familiar with those, the avalanche method is where you list out your debts from the highest interest to the lowest. And the highest interest could be actually the largest amount, which I know might be counterintuitive. You might be thinking it's counterintuitive to, try to attack the largest one first. But in a sense, you're actually making the most financially savvy move because you're taking out what's gaining the most interest over time. So that could be 4,000, 5,000, whatever it may be. And then you make your minimum payments on that debt and the debts below it. And as you pay off a debt, so the top debt, you would move that minimum payment down to the second highest, so on and so forth until you pay them all down. So you would pay, the first and the second until you got, paid through that. Then you'd pay the first, second, and then you'd pay those towards the third, and so on and so forth. You made it all the way down the line. Now, the snowball method, very similar. You're going to list out your debts, but there's a different priority. So you're going to keep the lowest amount at the top. And that's really just a kind of a psychological boost by paying off the smallest balance. You get a little momentum, you feel like you're making a positive direction, and then you move down the line the same way. You pay the minimum payments, all of them, pay extra towards the top priority. And then as you pay that off, you take the top priorities minimum payment moving down to the second and also pay the second and pay the rest minimums on the rest. So those are two of the methods. I know I've heard the snowflake method be tossed around, and that's just basically when you find any extra ways to make income, whether that be selling things, finding a side hustle, and basically you put all that money towards it in little snowflakes, so to speak. So those are some of the methods. Now I know we all have gone to school to become a nurse, and I know some of us have come out with some student loan debt, some greater than others. I know at one point I actually had 100,000 in student loans because I went to a private school. So I definitely needed a plan of action if I wanted to pay those off. So fortunately, they were low interest. Most there was a few that were not, and I just during this pandemic and even a little bit before that, I just started putting basically any extra money I had, overtimes, things like that, towards it. And eventually, I was able to chip it away at it to getting it almost 90% paid off now. So it is possible. You just really have to have a plan in place. And if you want to if you have a lot of different debts from different services, maybe they're in different groups, it may help you in the future to consider refinancing, especially if you can refinance down to a lower rate and then have them all in one payment, just for your sake to keep track of. And going forward, you'll be at a lower interest. And then if you do have any forgiveness programs available to you, it's worth consideration. I know as travel nurses, we can't really apply for the public service loan forgiveness. But in the future, if you do go back staff or just maybe another form of nursing, you may be eligible for it. So basically, that just allows you to make 10 years of qualifying payments or 120 payments, and then you're eligible for forgiveness. So depending on the size of your debt, that may be beneficial for you in the long run. And then the whole scheme of paying off debt is to have less debt payments, so you have more free cash flow. So that's more money for you to save and invest. And you can hit the next slide, and we'll talk about a little bit about automating finances, which I think is actually, yeah. Just before we get a little further, does anyone have any questions about debt payoff, whether to pay off debt first or invest?
Doesn't seem like anybody has any questions just right now.
Okay. Well, if anybody thinks of anything, we can always get back to it at the end. Appreciate everyone that's still on and joining us now. So we'll talk a little bit about automating finances just to make everything simpler for you and make your managing your money a lot easier. So my favorite thing is creating a money map, and this could be as simple as jotting it down with a pen and a paper, drawing little rectangles, and determining, what your income is, whether that be a primary nursing job, a per diem job, side hustle, really any other income that you have, and then kind of where your expenses are going. Do you have a mortgage? Do you have student loans? Do you have a car payment that you're making? And you're just seeing your flow in versus your flow out. And then from that flow out, that's the money that you can direct towards um, investments, saving, paying down debt. So I think just kind of seeing the big picture and seeing where everything is going, and then kind of you can list them by priority. So then if I do have excess money, where is the first priority? Where's the second priority? What do I want that money to go to? And you could even make it percentages. So you want 20% go towards your wants, or 30% to go towards your savings or investing goals. So it just really helps guide your decision making, and it really takes like the guesswork out of it, and allows you to just follow your money map and use that as the compass to kind of guide your wealth building process. It helps you prepare for the unexpected as well. When hey, I lost a little bit of income. Maybe I'm in between assignments. Then like what your highest priority is as far as what you want to put your money towards. And it helps you stay out of debt. By keeping your uh, finances in balance. You could go to the next page, Brett. And then, yes, one of my favorite things, as I mentioned earlier, is from one of my favorite books, The Automatic Millionaire. You want to pay yourself first. One of the easiest ways to do this is access to pre-tax savings accounts. So that's things like your 401k or an HSA. I know many travel nurses, we do get options to a 401k. Sometimes it comes with a certain term of service, whether that be 3, 6 months, and then you can start contributing. And it also helps if you do stick with one company. I'm not sure if Trusted has one. That's probably a good question for Brett. But yeah, these pre-tax savings account are a great way to pay yourself first, because as you get paid and that money comes into your payment account, you're essentially bypassing the tax, whether be pre-tax, and you're getting right into your accounts. So this actually allows you to pay less in federal tax money over time and keep more of your money now, and then allowing it to grow to bigger amounts for the future. With pre-tax savings accounts like a 401k or an HSA, it's a health savings account. That money can grow decades, without being taxed, including reinvesting dividends and all the compounded growth. So those are great ways that nurses could lower their taxable income even further, because I know many of us qualify for the tax-free stipends. They're able to lower it even further with these pre-tax savings accounts, which are great. If anyone has any specific questions on what kind of funds or things to invest in those, I'll be happy to answer as well. It's a little complicated to get all in one session here. And then, yeah, you want to set up other automatic contributions, whether that be to your individual retirement accounts or brokerage account. Typically, people, if they don't have the 401ks, they ask me, where can I invest? And that's when I tell them, that IRAs are a great option. Anybody that's making earned income can open an IRA. Anyone can open a brokerage. So if you do have more expendable income or money that you do want to put away for your future and investments, IRAs and brokerages are great options. You want to set up recurring transfers to your savings. And these are all things that I do every time I get paid, weekly, monthly, biweekly, whatever it may be. So I have money go to my investments, and I have money get directed directly to my savings. And this is where it goes to things like emergency funds, sinking funds, which are just things you have to pay for in the long run, whether that be a new set of tires for your car, or you have a certain medical bill you need to pay. So these are funds that you can plan for in advance. It could be even things like Christmas gifts, 9 months from now, 8 months from now, where you can kind of put small amounts of money away over the long run. And you right now, especially, you want to keep this money in high yield savings, at least at the bare minimum, because your typical bank account is offering you very, very minimal interest. So it is not even keeping up with inflation right now. Inflation's at 6% at least right now. So the money you have sitting in your bank is slowly losing its purchasing power. So you want to keep it in a high yield savings at least, or invest in treasury bonds. But yeah, so paying yourself allows you to keep your goals as your top priority. Um, and the essence of it is you pay yourself first before you're paying your bills, things like that, because at least you're taking care of yourself first. That allows you to start building wealth, start increasing your savings, increasing your investments, and then you'll find ways to pay the bills or just decrease your spending with whatever's left. Okay, next page, Britt. Does anybody have any questions about automating finances or money mapping or making automatic?
You're doing such a good job. It's just a wealth of knowledge that they're blown away.
Yeah, they're just mind blown. They're just trying to soak it all in at this point. I'm excited for I'm happy that everyone's still here, and I hope you're just listening and writing things down, and you're not getting a chance to look back up at the computer. Well, we can dive a little bit into investments. So, as I mentioned before, you have access to certain retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, HSAs. So, IRAs, there are a traditional version, which is very similar to your 401k. Um, it's going to be pre-tax in a sense that if you meet certain income requirements, that you could deduct your contributions from your taxes at the end of the year, come tax time, or Roth IRAs, which are tax free. So it's after tax um, income that you're contributing. And then, upon retirement, you're able to withdraw the money tax free. I like the Roth IRA personally because I think it just gives you a great option to have as comparison from the 401ks and the HSAs is just a tax-free outlet for your money. Because right now taxes are a certain way, but in the future they may be a lot higher. And at least with a Roth IRA, that's money that's going to be tax-free. HSAs are another one of my personal favorites, especially for people that are young and healthy without a lot of medical expenses. You are eligible for an HSA if you're in a high deductible plan. And basically, a health savings account is money that you get taken out of your paychecks pre-tax, and this money sits in savings, and then you could use for qualified medical expenses tax free. It also grows tax free, and then you actually could use that money in retirement as well. A lot of people don't realize this, but health savings accounts, you actually can invest the money as well. So when that money grows, it also becomes tax free. Sorry, I saw a question from Nicole since she's and Christina. We can get to those here in a few minutes. Really appreciate the questions though. So the non-retirement accounts that I'm talking about, I mentioned before the brokerages. So it's very similar to your IRAs and 401ks, where you may be able to hold, some kind of mutual fund or index fund like an ETF. But you could also purchase stocks and other investments. So you can purchase individual stocks if you wanted to, or you could probably buy the same ETFs or mutual funds that are inside your IRAs or 401ks. So it's a great outlet. Contributions are unlimited. So with the IRAs, it's 6,500 this year. It was 6,000 the year before, and it doesn't adjust for inflation. 401ks this year, the max is 22,500. For the brokerage, the max is unlimited. So if you don't have access to the 401k and you've already maxed out the IRA, the brokerage is an awesome outlet for that. Treasury Direct, if you don't want to be as aggressive as having a brokerage and investing in different ETFs and mutual funds, at least with Treasury Direct, you could purchase different forms of bonds. One being the I bond, which will at least keep up with inflation. I know that got really popular after they had announced the highest ever interest rate for I bonds. It was 9.62%. So just in comparison, the average return on the stock market, the S&P 500, it's been 10%. So it was pretty high. There was many very high level investors that were putting their money away there in the I bonds. But the only downside is for an individual, the max is 10,000. So you can only put 10,000 in those per year, and every 6 months they adjust to the new inflation rate. So now I think they're down to the six-ish range. But it is an avenue that you can put money away, whether just be for a short-term goal. At least it's gaining some interest. Now, to get into real estate a little bit, I am by no means a professional real estate investor, but I do know some things, and I know travel nurses, you're often moving around, you're getting to see a lot of places. It could be a great opportunity to house hack. So whether that be just sharing, your apartments that you're living in with a roommate and splitting the cost, that can keep your cost of living down lower. And then just leaving you more money to save and invest. Or in the future, when you do decide to stay somewhere, you could house hack that property, whether, like I said, being getting roommates or maybe getting into a multi-unit property could be a great option for you. You could rent out your rooms while you're away on assignment and then have a place to come back to, if you're still holding a per diem in your home location. I think house hacking is an amazing opportunity for someone that maybe wants to settle down to a degree, but also wants the option to leave again in the future. Um, and then you could take it a step further with the short and midterm rentals. If you want to rent out to other travel nurses like we are, you can furnish them, and young professionals can find them on Furnish Finder and things like Airbnb, and you could rent out to us, that all of us. And I think that's a great option as well. It's something I plan on doing. If you don't want to manage real estate at all, there is investment options out there, real estate investment trusts. And these are essentially very similar to stock index funds, things like that, where investors pull investors' money together and purchase different forms of real estate, and they give all their investors a percentage of that back. So they're usually higher dividends that you earn from the investment. And it's just a good way to maybe kind of balance your portfolio with real estate, but without actually owning any property. A lot of people ask me, oh, how can they invest in real estate without actually owning anything? And, that is a great option. And then I think it's so important that we always continue to invest in ourselves. Um, with this extra income that we're making, you do have an opportunity, like I said, to increase your savings and investments, pay down debt. But with this extra money, you could also invest in yourself, whether that be saving up to getting an advanced degree, or paying for, your tuition as you go, or invest in courses. If there's something that you want to learn, maybe, that be finances, or maybe that be about health and wellness. Really, it just gives you an opportunity to, just take your knowledge to the next level. And then same thing with masterminds. I know there are some out there pretty much for everything. So, if you want to get better and learn more at something, you can join a mastermind and just learn from these people that are already accomplishing what you want to accomplish. And then same thing with conferences. I know the biggest travel nurse conference or traveling healthcare professional conference is TravCon. I'm actually going to be going. It's going to be my first year there, and I actually was chosen as one of the speakers, so I am really excited about that too. This is a good warm up. So I look forward to meeting anyone there. So make sure, if you do go, introduce yourself to me and say, "Hey, I was at that Trusted Live event in March." It'll be a good icebreaker. And then lastly, investing in a coach or a mentor. This was something that really helped me. Just having good mentors, and it just helps eliminate the early on steps when you're climbing the ladder. You're able to kind of streamline the process and just move through everything a lot quicker than you would on your own. On your own, you face a lot of obstacles, roadblocks, and you will have to take time to learn how to get by those. But with a mentor, they kind of just give you the answer right away, and then you're able to bypass it to the next step. So I will always say investing in yourself is one of the best investments that you can make. So with any of those things, I think that will help you leverage your income to eventually have more success. Definitely. Switch switch it up for me, Brett. Appreciate it. Just a little bit more about investing. If you heard about investing ever or read about it, you probably heard about compounding interest. Albert Einstein said it was the eighth wonder of the world, and he said that for a reason. Just basically, if you looked at anyone that has invested and they have invested for a really long time, their money has probably grown to a large sum just because, over time, your money starts making money, and then that money makes money on top of that. So when it gets down the line, the bigger nest egg that you have, your money kind of actually starts making it money on its own, and it goes on autopilot. So the earlier you start, the better. Someone starting when they're 18, will already have 20 years of investing, by their time they're 38, versus someone just starting in their early to late 30s. So just that time horizon will allow your money to grow to a lot larger amounts. So I recommend starting early and often. People always ask me, I'm afraid, to start. I don't know where to start. And I think just taking the time to learn and then just starting, even if it's just small amounts, can add up to great amounts over time. The rule of 72, if you're not familiar with it, I think is a key rule to learn and just understand. It basically explains that how your money can grow over time. Basically, if you take whatever interest that you're earning, so if it's 10% from the stock market, if you divide that number by 72, it gives you 7.2. So that means your money will double in 7.2 years. And then you could, make whatever numbers you want, and that'll give you your equation and your answer. So if you want to invest in something that's only going to give you a 5% term, then it'll take you 14 years for your money to double. It actually works for pretty much everything. So if you want to figure out something going in the opposite direction, if you're paying interest on something, in that amount of years, if you don't make a payment, it will actually double. So with credit cards, you can only imagine the rule of 72, divided by 20. It's just going to be a few years that money could double if you weren't making payments. So that's where debt can get kind of scary if you're not careful. I always like to talk about getting 100,000 invested before you're 30. I wouldn't say it's the end all be all, but as a young travel nurse, I think it's important to try to hit that number, because if you do, your money can really starts growing on itself pretty quickly. Um, if you don't invest another dollar when you're 30, and you just let that grow for the next 30 years until you're 60, the typical retirement age, it'll be over $1 million. And that's if you never invested another penny. So I won't tell you to do that, but it just kind of goes to show the power of how your money can grow. And then you want to be weary of expensive fees, excessive fees, whether that being paying a financial advisor, which can charge a 1% fee, which doesn't sound like a lot, but 1% of 100,000 or 1% of a million could really add up over time, and it could be the difference of your portfolio being hundreds of thousands different. So I always tell people to be really weary of their fees, of what they're paying. So whether that being to a financial advisor or whether that being the funds that you're investing in, you want to make sure you check the expense ratios. That's really important. And then don't want to try to time the market. When you have this extra income, you could start kind of building it up, and then you might be scared of when I should get in, or hey, I'm going to wait until it goes down lower. But it's really impossible for anybody to predict exactly when it's going to go down or when it's going to go up. So at least if you're investing consistently over time, that your average investment will be a lot lower. And that's something they call dollar cost averaging, which is essentially you invest the same amount over time, every week, every couple of weeks, every month, and it allows you to keep your averages lower, and you're not timing, when it's high, and then it ends up dropping, and then when it drops, you get nervous and you don't buy until it gets up high again. It kind of prevents you from doing that, making emotional decisions. And like I said, the best traits an investor can have is being consistent and being patient. With the markets, you won't need the money right now, but when you're investing this extra income, it allows you to take advantage of the growth decades from now. when you're going to be looking to retire. And the average age is getting up there. I think the average age is in the 70s right now. So you're gonna need some time, money for after when you retire, and taking advantage of the extra income as a nurse now, travel nurse now, uh, will make your future a lot brighter, and you won't have to rely on as many social programs. So I think people taking advantage of this now, in their travel nursing years. I understand, traveling and enjoying all those experiences, but you want to make sure that you're investing for your future as well. And last thing here, just a little summary. Just so debt pay down. You want to, like I said, make a budget, a realistic budget, and you could adjust this monthly. I'd say go back through your previous month's expenses, maybe your last 2 months' expenses, and if you need to, write down, whatever it is, whether it was for your car or for groceries, and then categorize all those expenses, and then that'll give you what your average monthly expense is. And then from there, you can make a budget. And if you think you want, more cash flow, more money at the end of the month, then just try decreasing everything down by just a little bit, whether it be 10% or 20%. And then that will give you hopefully, some more money at the end of the month that you could use for other financial priorities. And you want to create a plan you want to have a plan in place. Without a plan, then you'll have no direction. So I always agree, when you're trying to pay on debt, to have a plan, like what you're going to do with the extra money and how exactly you'll use it. And you want to pick one of the methods that I talked about. I just realized, from explaining it, it's a little hard to explain without actually showing a diagram. So after this, if you didn't get what I meant, definitely Google snowball method versus avalanche. There's a lot of really cool diagrams that you could take a look at. And then you just want to stay consistent. Pick one of those methods and then just stick to it. If you keep trying to bounce back and forth, it may be difficult and a little counterintuitive. So you just want to pick one, whatever matches your style, and then just really go all in on it. And then that'll help you pay down debt very quickly. And then automating finances, you want to create your own money map, whether that be a diagram or just jotting down notes on your iPhone, but just kind of determine where all your income is coming in, what exactly is that income, what number, what your expenses are, where, what numbers those are going to, and just determining what you have left over, and then what are your priorities, where you have all of your money going, whether that be savings, your investments, what in each investment account. And then that just kind of helps guide you and just takes all your makes all your decision making a lot easier. And then paying yourself first, you want to give yourself the lion's share of all your earnings. I know we all work very hard as nurses, and you definitely want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself first and foremost. And then just to make everything a lot simpler, so you're not stressing out and sitting in front of a pencil and paper and a laptop every day, just making things automatic, make it a lot easier. Make those automatic transfers, make those automatic contributions, set up bill pay, so you never have to worry about being late on a bill payment. And then your money is going to your savings, you have your money going to your investments. Just makes it a lot easier on yourself and kind of takes your decision making out of it. If you have all those things taken care of, then whatever money you have left over, you could spend and enjoy. And then we talked about some of the investment accounts, but if you have any more specific questions on retirement accounts, the IRS website is great for giving you very detailed requirements and restrictions. Brokerage accounts are one of my favorites if you want to retire early, because you can access this money anytime that you want, and it is unlimited contributions. So there's nothing stopping you from growing a very large nest egg in a short amount of time. Real estate is a method that many people have become wealthy from and will continue to become wealthy from. So it is definitely an option. And as travel nurses, we can leverage our knowledge to create income for ourselves in the future. So I think it's great to kind of observe everything you're going through with right now with the short-term housing assignments, and see how maybe in the future you could kind of solve those problems, like making the perfect place, for a travel nurse or travel healthcare professional to stay. And then you could potentially use that knowledge to leverage that knowledge to make income for yourself in the future. And then using this extra income, you could leverage this extra income to invest in yourself, which I think is the best investment that you can make. Investing in yourself, whether that be courses, conferences, masterminds, anything that you could advance your knowledge will benefit you. So I think that is pretty much it for what I had to talk about during this event. But I would love to answer some of the questions that I saw popping up before. And if anybody has anything else right now.
Yeah, feel free to jot those down for us in the Q&A. I'm going to go back up to the top here. What's your favorite high yield savings account?
So my favorite high yield savings account, shout out to Christina. That's actually my fiance, so sweet of her to join. Um,
Oh, my favorite.
yeah, my favorite high yield savings account is probably Ally. I know they have really competitive rates. I Ally Financial, and they also have a super user friendly app, which I think is great for setting up, your money going into certain buckets. So if you have a house fund, say you have a wedding fund, they make it so simple that you could set up that, say 70% of your savings goes to that, 30% goes to the other thing. So it's great kind of just seeing it all go where it's supposed to. And like I said, they're usually competitive. I think right now it's close to 4% if it's not already 4%. So I'd say Ally is my favorite.
I use them as well. That's where I stashed all my my tax money. So yeah, I definitely recommend them too. So could you speak to brokerage funds you're referring to? I did not realize the relation of inflation at 6%.
Okay. So that's a good question. Yeah, sorry if I confused you at all. But so a brokerage account can hold funds, whether that be stocks, bonds, index funds. And how it relates to inflation is basically just, if you had your money just sitting in a savings account at Wells Fargo or Bank of America, usually they offer you 0.01% if it's just sitting in the savings, not if it's in like a certificate of deposit or anything like that. So if it's just sitting there, you're losing in money to inflation, 6% minus the 0.01%. Every year the purchasing power of your money is going down by that amount. So at least with a brokerage account, you know, the investments that you're making could at least keep up with inflation or maybe pass it. I know right now the markets are a little tough because it's going up and down. But in the future, those can grow to a lot more. So in theory, like a brokerage account or even just your retirement accounts are a way to invest money in an asset that could potentially outpace inflation. I don't know if inflation will stay at 6% forever. So maybe it's like not as necessary, but I think right now with like 6%, it's almost. I mean, it's almost seems like a no brainer to me to like at least have money that could at least keep up and bypass inflation. So I think a brokerage account is just an option for you to put more money away towards that. But there's an order of priorities. I'm not going to tell you to put just every single dollar you have in a brokerage account in an investment. If you don't have an emergency fund, if you don't have if you haven't paid off all your high interest debt, so there is like an order of operations. But when you have all those things taken care of, I think a brokerage account makes a lot of sense because it allows you to invest in assets they can appreciate and grow, become more valuable, and in the future you can live off of money in your brokerage in a sense where if it grows to a certain amount, you can take out a certain amount per year without it actually losing money. So if the stock market's gaining 10%, you could spend 5-6% and still have that much left over. Also, brokerage accounts give you dividends on certain things you're investing in, so those dividends could fund your money on a monthly yearly basis. So I just like a brokerage account for anyone that's like really just trying to smash home some extra investments. I think that's just like the go-to. It's unlimited. Everyone can open one. There's a ton of great things about it.
Perfect. Regarding the HSAs, do these roll over? If not used in the year, is it lost?
No, so HSAs, you're actually that money rolls over, and it basically stays in your account in your name. I think the FSAs, the free flexible spending accounts, I think if you don't use it, you lose it. But with the HSAs, that rolls over. And then in the future, if you actually say you got with a different employer and had like a new HSA, you actually could roll that money over to the new account and you will still have control of all of it. And even if you don't, you'll keep that money in the account and you can, use it whenever, as long as that HSA, stays in, the company stays in business. I mean, if not, I think they'll still actually roll it over to the new company, whoever takes it over, or the government will actually, reimburse you. But that's getting really far down the line. A lot of things would have to happen, but the HSAs do roll over.
Okay, perfect. And how do you buy REITs? Sorry, that is
Yes, no, it's great. I think a lot of people say that acronym is REITs. So we could just say REITs instead of saying REITs. So yeah, buying the real estate investment trusts or REITs. Um, a lot of your investment institutions, so Vanguard, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, BlackRock, any of those have real estate investment trusts. But the main things you want to look for is just like the fund's overall prospectus and just like what they're investing in, and then what their expense ratio is in. So, not all of them are created equal. There's going to be ones that have performed better in the past, and have lower fees. So those are going to be the ones you look for. So look for the 5, 10 year, and then, even since inception, what their returns have been, and then compare that with like how much fees they charge. And then if it's worth it, then you could buy them. Um, I'm not a financial advisor per se, I'm not. So I can't tell you exactly what percentage to buy. That's ultimately up to you. But I will mention, they do work in someone's portfolio just to give them a little bit of diversity. So it could be a good option for you.
awesome. Are there any ways to learn which real estate and investment funds are being ethically run? Interesting question, Shannon. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no, this is actually a great question. So I know I did a post on this a little while back, a few weeks ago, about ethically managed funds. I think they're like ESG funds, and it's basically they kind of have their own set of filters. I don't know all the filters off the top of my head, and I think they all vary to like a some degree depending on the institution. But they have a set of filters. So like, it can't have child labor, it can't have, alcohol or smoking tobacco. So like they all have their different set of filters, and they'll actually make funds. Let's just say a stock index fund of all of those companies that meet that criteria. And if they don't meet the criteria, then they'll be taken out. So if you're investing in that index fund, you know, to a degree, you could know that all of those funds are ethical, to by a certain set of standards. As in comparison, if you invest in like, let's just say a total stock market index fund, then it's every single company, whether they're like doing good on the earth or they're not. Same thing with like the S&P 500. I'm sure some of those 500 companies are probably not doing the best at keeping earth friendly standards. So if you really do want to take it to the next level and make sure that your ethics align with real estate investment trusts and investment funds, there are out there. Yeah, so I think the ESG is the acronym. So if you want to look up some of those and see if your investment institution has them, you can read more about them, kind of see how they compare, with the other funds that are out there. But they are out there.
And next question is, how much should you invest in your retirement? 10 to 15%?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Um, Personal finance, everything's personal. Everybody's a little different. So I think that's like a good target to start. And then obviously, the more that you can save and invest for the future, the better. It could either be the earlier that you retire, or if you do retire later, then you have a lot bigger nest egg, to live off of and, basically just enjoy. So really, it really kind of depends on what your goals are. If you want to retire before 50, then you're probably going to have to be a little bit more aggressive because you have to make that money last a little bit longer. But if you are okay with, kind of just living a normal life, working, and retiring when you're in your 60s, then, maybe you don't need to be as aggressive. But I think if you're someone just starting and I think that's a good target for you to aim for. I would have to kind of see your whole financial picture, and maybe there is room for you to make even more. But I think if you're just starting somewhere and you're not sure, at least 10% is a good somewhere to start, and then you could adjust it up from there if you can.
Perfect. I would say that that's probably similar to the next question, and it's another how much should you invest?
So I'm not a financial advisor, just to remind everyone. So I can't tell you specifically how much to invest. But like I said, any number that you have, and if you've paid off your debt, have accomplished some of those other baseline things like having an emergency fund, then yeah, the more you can put away, the better. But I would say start off with whatever you're comfortable with, and then kind of as you learn more about what you're investing in, then you could use that knowledge just to feel more confident, and then you could funnel more money away. Me to my level, I mean, I've read dozens of books, and I pretty much focus on finances all the time, so I feel pretty comfortable. And I mean, there's been months where I put almost 5 figures of investments away. So it really just kind of depends on your overall confidence, how much money you have from month to month. I think travel nursing going forward, it's not going to have the pandemic rates unless if like another pandemic happens, which I think we all hope that never happens. But the rates are going to stay worth it. I think still taking travel contracts now still leaves you a lot of room to, like I said, use leverage that income to make good financial decisions for your future, but also enjoy. It's all about balance. So I think if you're comfortable with your investment amounts and still getting to enjoy and like focus on the things that you value most, I think that's a great philosophy to live by.
Perfect. If anybody else has any other questions, be sure to jot those down while we're waiting for the last little bit of questions to come in. Let's figure out who we want to give the prizes to. All
Oh
right.
yeah, this is the best part. Some prizes for all the people that stayed on.
All right, guys. As you can see, who did I pick? Who is this person? Well, I am not even on the screen. There we go. Mike Amato. It's one.
All right, Mike.
I love the enthusiasm.
It's one of my friends. So
Oh, wow. See? Man, he
yeah.
doesn't need it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Lisa Forrester. Okay. All right, guys. I want to see some excitement in this chat now if y'all want. All right. Amaris Goodacre, I believe. Amaris. Apologies if I am not pronouncing you all's names correctly. All right. And we have one more book and then the session, correct? Is that right? 4
Yeah.
books, 1 session? Okay. Let
Mhm.
me, right? Okay. Oh, okay. I'm gonna not to Pacao Yang. Whew. Apologies again. All right. And then for the session. All right, guys. Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. Oh, it's about to be your fiance. She doesn't need that. She can get it for free.
She gets all the 1 hour sessions for. She says, "I knew it."
Okay, and Lisa Fastnacht. Um, apologies again. I hope that you guys, yeah, I love, see, that's what we love. I love to hear the excitement. Y'all are going to get y'all's finances together in 2023 and y'all didn't even know it. Okay. Sweet. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to email you all. I have everyone's information, and I'll email everyone the everything for this after we wrap. And then on top of that, I just wanted to thank you all again so much for coming. If you guys have any other questions, I'm going to link Anthony's information in the email. We're going to send out the slides, and we're also going to send out the recording to everybody. We understand some people couldn't be here on shift and things like that. So we do appreciate everyone's time. And I'll send everything out to everybody, and I'll be emailing all the winners. But ultimately, just thank you guys so much for joining us today. And we hope that it was helpful. And I think it was. It helped me out a lot. So you guys let me know when we send out a survey, if you guys want to see more of this or anything that you guys need from us here at Trusted. But again, we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. And thank you again. Have a great night, guys.
Yes, thank you so much for everybody's time. I really appreciate it. Please reach out and connect. Financially Fit Nurse, once again on Instagram. And Brittany, thank you so much for co-hosting with me. And I look forward to joining on some other events in the future. And once again, appreciate everyone's time.
Perfect. All right, guys. Stay tuned for Nurses Week events and everything in between. So we'll see you guys at another event soon. Bye.